So what is it really like being a small business owner, as the title suggests? So the big idea is, and in today's video what I really want to do is talk a little bit about the topic of entrepreneurship. And the reason for it is because I think a lot of times when you look at media, you will see so many people preach how great entrepreneurship is, how they're making millions of dollars, especially from a lot of the gurus. For me personally, I don't have a course to sell you guys, so you don't have to worry about any kind of sales pitch or anything like that. This is all free information. But the big idea is that the reality is that it's actually a lot more difficult to become an entrepreneur than I think a lot of people realize. And today's video is going to be talking about that, the realities of it. I want to maybe talk and start a little bit talking about the dark side of entrepreneurship that people don't really talk about. And then I will talk about and end this with some of the positive things and brighter sides to entrepreneurship. So whether or not you are someone that maybe is thinking about, becoming a small business owner, or maybe you are someone that already is a small business owner, feel free to leave a comment down below with any questions, thoughts about anything, or personal experiences, again, if you are a small business owner, about whether or not you can or maybe cannot relate, let's say, per se. But it is always great to hear from you guys. So with that being said, like, comment, subscribe, and let's get this video started. So the first thing that we're really going to start by talking about is really about the dark sides to entrepreneurship, because it's not really like I think a lot of people paint it out to be and really think. The first part is really to talk about how entrepreneurship and becoming a small business owner, it's actually just really hard. I think a lot of times when you watch a lot of gurus, they will preach about how you can start a business within a couple of days, which is kind of true because you can technically start a business in a couple of days, but to become very successful at your particular business, in most cases it will be a marathon. There are some people that find immediate success, maybe because of beginner's luck or something like that, but the reality is that even then, most businesses, and this is very well known, most small businesses either will not work or they will work and then they will not work, in the sense that some problem can always come up at any moment while you're running a business. It is very different than, for example, if you happen to be an employee and something goes wrong, you can always just try to find another job. It's not easy to find another job, especially in this horrible this horrible job market that we're currently in, but you can still do it. That's the big idea. But in entrepreneurship, and I'm speaking from personal experience, you can have things such as like lawsuits happen, competition comes in, people try to, do something to your business, employees kind of mess things up there and there. There's just so many different profit margins, expenses go up, the market changes, all sorts of different things. The idea is that there's just so many things that can go wrong when it comes to running a business. And sometimes, depending on the business model, not necessarily enough things to go right that can make it necessarily worth it, depending on the particular business that you are pursuing or that you are trying to attempt to pursue. So the idea really behind it is that it's just a lot more difficult than I think most people make it out to be. It is not a smooth sail for most people. Even if they hit beginner's luck and have it in the beginning become a smooth sail, eventually problems can very much occur. And I think that's one of the big things to really start by talking about. Now, the second big dark side, I think, to entrepreneurship and becoming a small business owner that I think a lot of people don't realize is really about opportunity costs and about how risky it can sometimes be to start a business. And the risk is not necessarily in terms of how much money you can lose in the process of starting a business, but even in terms of the opportunity cost and the things that you could have done if you did not start a business and pursue this particular career route. So what are some examples of this? Is for example, I'll give a personal anecdote in my situation. So in my particular situation, I grew a business that, let's just say, made enough money that I can pay my bills and expenses while living in one of the most expensive places in the world, which is New York City, which is where I'm based out of. Shout out to everyone from New York right here. But the big idea is that, it was enough money to do a lot of that stuff. But on the other hand, I sometimes look back and think in a lot of ways the amount of work that it took to build up my businesses in the beginning, that if I had instead tried to pursue just a traditional career path in the old days, which I used to be an engineer at that particular time period, I probably could have made even more money, or certainly about the same amount of money, but with a lot less effort and hassle. I would not have to deal with a lot of the problems that I just mentioned, such as like the competition, the expenses, the profit margins, the lawsuits that I had to deal with, and everything that came in that world, that came in the process of starting a business. I could have literally just worked, followed orders. It's not that it's necessarily easy, but it certainly would be easier to just follow and tag along and just do what I was told and collect a steady paycheck than what I ended up signing up for as an entrepreneur. So these are just kind of some of the opportunity costs that I think you really have to think about if you decide to start a business. But what are some bright sides to starting a business? I would say that, interestingly, one of the bright sides to starting a business is also opportunity costs. And it's really about the fact that one of the biggest opportunity costs that really came, or opportunity benefits, it's not a cost anymore. We're talking about some good things that are coming through. But the idea really is that although it is true that by becoming a small business owner, it made it so that it was a lot harder to generate money, at least certainly in the beginning. One of the perks about it is that it also came with the opportunity cost / opportunity benefits of buying your freedom. And I think that's one of the biggest things that entrepreneurship will really bring. So what do I mean by this exactly, or what are some examples of this? Is that because I was able to start my business at a very young age at that time period, it brought so much free time and so much control and power over how I spent my time on a day-to-day basis. I was able to use that time to basically do things such as like to travel the world, visit cool places, spend more time with family, meet the best of friends, go all over the place and, go different experiences, go to concerts, go to raves, go to parties. Not to say that we're supposed to become party heads, but the idea is that if there is something that you have always wanted to do with your life, but say, for example, you could not do it because you just felt you didn't have the time or the amount of PTOs to do that particular something, as a small business owner, you now get to control your time. You now get the power and the freedom to choose how you spend it. And of course, although it's true that with great power comes great responsibility, if you are relatively responsible with the time that you have, you can do a lot of great things and really be able to enjoy life. Because we've always talked about this before, is that as important as money is in this world, money will buy you comfort. It will buy you, comfort, stability, expenses. It'll cover bills. It'll give you luxury items, all sorts of different things. At the end of the day, one of the things that it cannot always or within limitations, of course, is to get you experiences and memories. And I think that's one of the biggest things, that having the freedom as a part of entrepreneurship, that it can be really nice to maybe consider if that's something that's of particular interest to you. So family, friends, experiences, fun times, travels, anything in that particular world. The second really big, I'd say, positive and bright side to entrepreneurship is probably really about knowledge and experience. And an extension of that is pretty much talking about the amount of ways that you can grow in the process of starting a business. And I think that this is definitely a mindset that you have to have if you're trying to go into starting a business, is that it's not necessarily about the money you can make, but it's about the ways that you can grow in the process of trying to start a business. And because there was a very big quote that I think really stood with me. I don't know if it's a famous quote. I think it might have just been a quote that maybe someone told me while drinking at a bar one day or something like that, in like a New York City bar or nightclub. But the quote goes something like, you can strip a man of their money, or man, a woman, or person of their money, but you can never strip a person of their experiences and their memories and their knowledge. There is no price to knowledge, at least within means, for a person. Because the idea is that when you take someone of their money, if they have the knowledge to be able to do so, they can always just make it back again. And that's one of the biggest things that you cannot necessarily gain from a traditional job. You technically can, because yes, there are traditional jobs that will teach you things, but the amount that you can gain and the knowledge that you can, ways that you can grow from starting a business, such as learning things such as like marketing, sales, tech, email marketing, and then email communication, all sorts of different things. And then of course the skills related to the actual business that you are trying to start. These are things that no amount of money can necessarily buy in most particular situations within means. And I think is that if you look at it more as a way to grow as a person instead of as a way to just simply make money, that's one of the biggest golden things that you can really do for yourself when you approach starting a business. And I'd probably say the final big benefit to really talk, I mean, there's so many things I can share, but I just don't want to make this video like 30 minutes long. Unless that is something you guys want, feel free to comment down below if you want a long extended version of this video. But probably the last thing that I really want to share is about the amount of fulfillment that you can get from starting a business, especially if this is a business model that's centered around something that you are particularly interested in. And I like to think that in most cases, you are more likely to enjoy your job if you do pursue becoming a small business owner, because you can center your business around whatever you actually physically enjoy. So say, for example, you're an accountant, right? And I'm just giving this as an example, but you can use this for any particular service, product, or anything like that, because at the end of the day, a business is basically just an exchange of value for money. But we're just going to use the example of opening maybe like an accounting business, right? If you become a traditional accountant at a regular firm, you're kind of stuck having to work for whatever clients your company throws at you, whether or not you like it. So maybe you do, by luck, you do end up liking it. But there's also a very reasonable probability that you end up becoming an accountant at a firm, but you end up with a lot of clients that you just don't get along with. You know, maybe you don't get along with, maybe you don't like the particular project, but because you're signed onto a company, you're now stuck practicing accounting in that particular area. But say, for example, you become accounting manager or you start your own accounting firm. Now the power becomes that you can charge your own rate, you can decide what clients you want to work with, you can decide on what coworkers and people you want to hire onto your team. You can, you know, maybe instead of becoming an accountant for like a bank, you can become an accountant for like a film project, or an accountant, because I'm a little bit biased because I do work in TV and film outside of this. But you can become an accountant for like a film production. You can become an accountant for like a music school. You can become an accountant for education, or just whatever your heart desires. You know, a factory, or just something, you know, maybe the league, you know, maybe you want to get into professional sports. You can become an accountant in that area as well. Because again, every industry basically needs an accountant. But the idea, the bottom line is that I think that as a small business owner, if you pursue something that's along the lines of something you're interested in, which hopefully you are, because again, as a small business owner, you do get a lot of control now to do what you want. I think that the personal fulfillment and the experiences and the memories that you can get from it will serve to become priceless someday, that you will look back on, hopefully, very fondly and positively. And I think that probably is going to conclude the last thing that I really want to share about what is it really like to become an entrepreneur or small business owner. So with that being said, that's really what I wanted to share in today's video. So if you guys enjoyed that, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for hopefully more. Feel free to leave a suggestion if there's something else you want to see in the future. And with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay well, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.